So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women Who Rock with Success. This is our second half portion of the summit. And so, we are thankful that you tuned in with us on today. And so, we have some phenomenal speakers. Last week was just awesome. This one is going to be awesome and phenomenal. So, we're going to go around the round table and we're going to let everyone introduce themselves, let the audience know a little bit about you, how you got started with social media or even marketing or advertising, and how they can, kind of be able to kind of grasp a little bit more about your niche. So we're going to start with Paige, of course. She's first. And you can go around, and then after we'll go with Allie and then Ashley.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Diane. It's great to be here.
You're welcome.
So I started a marketing consulting firm called Mavens and Moguls 20 years ago. It's hard to believe. And I started my marketing career in 1990 doing brand management at Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know Procter & Gamble, you might not realize the parent company, but I'm sure you realize the brands. It's Tide detergent and Gain detergent, Ivory soap, Pantene shampoo, Gillette razors, a lot of products, Bounty, Charmin, stuff you have in your house. And they kind of invented the concept of brand management. So I've been doing marketing for a long time, first at big companies like P&G and Coca-Cola. Then I ran marketing at 3 successful startup businesses. And now I've been running my own business for about 20 years.
Okay, perfect. So, Allie.
I'm Allie Martin. I am based in Kentucky and I own a social media and public relations agency called Fame and Fortune. We work with female business owners to increase their visibility online. I previously was in public relations for Amazon. I worked in the Southeast region of the United States and really got to see a bird's eye view of public relations and social media from one of the biggest companies in the world. And so that led me to open Fame and Fortune about 3 years ago, and I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and so Ashley?
Yes. So hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Mason. I own the content marketing firm Dash of Social, which is based in Massachusetts. We specialize in social media management. That's our bread and butter for most of our clients. We also offer email marketing and blogging, and then overall marketing strategy and consulting. Dash of Social will be 6 years old in September 2022. I actually got into marketing because I was a blogger. So I started a fashion and lifestyle blog about 10 years ago in September 2012. Long story short, I realized I was spending a lot of time on that blog and realized that if I was going to be spending that much time in that blog, I should A, find a way to monetize it, and B, get people who weren't just my family to read it. And that's when I realized that social media would really be the golden ticket to help me reach those people. So I taught myself marketing to be able to grow my blog and become a micro influencer. That led me to take on freelance marketing gigs here and there due to the connections that I was building in the industry. And then I ended up launching my marketing firm actually when I was in college. So I was 19 years old when I started it, took it full time when I graduated just about 3 years ago in 2019. And now we have a team of 9 that we work with clients across the country, but a lot of them here in Massachusetts.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. And that's very, very important that whatever brand that we have, you monetize it. We don't give everything away for free. Okay. So I like that. So we're going to start with Paige. And this is something that it was not a challenge for me when I was taking marketing, but I learned a lot about brand management because if you don't, sometimes people have issues with changing their names, they change their products around and what have you. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or that's not a good thing, but in order to brand it, you have to stay or you have to remain still for a minute so the company can be able to grow. I guess I would like to use that word. So kind of take us in a little bit, Paige, as to what brand management is, the purpose of brand management, and why it is important for the entrepreneur, the professional, the corporate America. This is a business platform as well, as to why it is important that we remain on target until we see a good ROI.
So it's a great question, Diane. Brands are really important because if you're not a brand, you're a commodity, and commodities compete on price.
Right.
And you do not want to be a commodity because then you're basically going to end up not charging very much and not getting paid very well. So to be a brand is really important because it helps you charge a premium for your product or service. And brand management is basically a strategic process you go through to build your brand's reputation, to attract an audience that, you know, is going to stay with you and be loyal and build your reputation. And, you know, you'll have a loyal following of people that want to know about you and will follow you and will talk about you, become your champions, and repeat business and keep coming back. So brand management is a really important strategy to be cohesive, to come up with a plan, and to be consistent. You have to continue. You can't stand for a lot of things. You can only stand for maybe one or two key messages, and you have to constantly reinforce that in everything that you do, both online and offline. So brand management is basically what allows you to be visible in a world where it's easy to be completely invisible. And like I said, starting my career at P&G, at Procter & Gamble, you learn how to create a great brand. That happens to be a consumer products company. I'm now more of a business to business company, but it doesn't matter if you're a consumer product or a professional service firm or a technology firm. Everybody needs to be a brand. And I think now in the virtual world, the hybrid world that we're all living in, everybody's a brand today. You might not think of yourself. You think, well, I'm not Simone Biles or LeBron James or Donald Trump or whoever, Britney Spears, but everybody's really a brand today. And especially on social media, you have to make sure that you're building a strong brand and you're resonating the messages that you're choosing to reinforce, resonate with the audience you're trying to attract so that people remember you, they can find you, they can come back, and they're willing to pay for your product or service. So I would just encourage everybody to really, if you don't think of yourself as a brand now, hopefully you will by the end of our talk today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So this question is going to be for Allie. So you know that we have social media marketing that helps businesses and companies to be able to brand and maintain their trademark. So now we see, of course, like Procter and Gamble, we see Tide, we see Pepsi Cola. They are even creating like fun games and different types of little, you know, things in order for or incentives for the followers to be able to engage with the product. So that's the next question is going to be for Allie. So how important is that for us to, you know, sometimes we got to loosen up, you know, especially if we want people to be able to engage with our products and services?
Yeah, it comes down to being creative, really. You know, how can we capture the attention of our potential customers? Yeah, when you think about what's always been done and kind of getting in this routine of, you know, posting static images on Instagram. Well, now Instagram's come out and said that video is now going to be prioritized because static images were no longer capturing the attention of their customers. And so their job is to keep people on the app as long as possible. So now it's moving towards video. So yeah, when you can incorporate contests and games and interactive features that really capture that audience's attention, allow them to engage with you, that's only going to further build that brand and allow you to connect with your ideal customers. You know, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, the more that an individual is interacting with your brand on Instagram, on Facebook, on any of the platforms, it builds that algorithm to where when you post again, you're going to show up higher in their algorithm. They're going to see your post sooner than they will other posts because they've engaged with you in the past. It's part of the algorithm's the whole equation behind the scenes that we don't entirely know, but we do know that plays a part into it. So anytime you can get an individual to interact with your brand, it will further build that relationship you have online, and that's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. So this question is for Ashley. And so how has social media benefited what you're doing as far as marketing and branding? I know that you talked about you began as a blogger, in which now you have stay-at-home moms are making actually seven, figure digits in blogging. I'm serious. They are making a lot of money. They go in the back room, they change the baby's diaper, they come right back to the computer and they go to typing. I'm serious. And I'm like, wait a minute. And some of them does not have any type, in which this is good. It's like Ali stated, creative content. And so people are learning different ways how to monetize. So how has that been beneficial for you, Ashley?
Yeah, so social media has been beneficial for me primarily because of Facebook groups. So Facebook groups have been amazing communities for connecting with people across the country, across the world. And especially when we've been living in a 2.5-year pandemic mode, it's been really nice to have those online communities that we can turn to. And so actually about 75 to 80% of our clients come from Facebook groups alone. And with those groups, it's amazing because they're free unless you're paying for some type of membership and get into the Facebook group because of that. But you're able to use these free communities that other business owners or leaders have spent time and money building up. And so now you're getting seen in front of thousands, if not tens of thousands of active and engaged members. And you're able to build thought leadership within those communities and get people to know you and like you and trust you, because once they know you, like you, and trust you, that's when they purchase from you. And so being able to use social media to just be social, which is what is its intended use, has really benefited, but just being able to just build your network. Because even though this saying is such a cliche, your network is your net worth, it's true. And so being able to have people within your circle who will either A, purchase your products or services themselves, or B, refer you to people who have purchased your products or services, are equally important and incredibly trivial to focus on.
Absolutely. So I got a kickback on this one last week. It was something that you had stated, but I think too, it's important, I guess how we connect to our friends. So that was one of the challenge questions that I brought up last week on the summit, as to the importance of, we should have different pages. If we have a page for a business, that needs to stay just strictly, that's just my opinion now, just stay strictly for business. And then you have a separate page that's personal. So of course the panel last week, they saw it their way, and that was just my opinion, because sometimes we can confuse our audience as to who we are and what we're doing. So I can drive a taxi over here on this page, but on this page right here, I can talk to my grandmother, or I can talk to my friends, or I can talk to my sister and what have you. I think it kind of combobulates the situation if we add all of that in there together. So now I'm going to bring that same question to every last one of you. So we're going to see how our opinions differ from the summit of the speakers last week. So we're going to start with Paige.
Okay, well, I do have an opinion on this.
Okay.
So in the old days, I think you could compartmentalize a lot easier. But I think in this new era with online, digital, social media, you have to be very aware that you have to have a very consistent brand. If you pretend on Twitter that you're very snarky, and on Facebook you're coming off like you're a partier and you're real social and you're going to the beach and you put up your pictures in a bikini, or doing shots with your friends, and then on LinkedIn you try and be real buttoned up and professional and be a thought leader. That doesn't really fly anymore, because you have to assume that your audience is going to see the snarky comments, the party shots, and the thought leadership, and they're going to be very confused. And I think it was Ali who said, you're building trust. And I think
Right.
Ashley talked about this too. You need to build a consistent brand that people know. A brand is a promise that you're going to deliver a certain
Mhm.
kind of experience.
Right.
And if you're not delivering that experience on all platforms, it's going to be confusing and you're going to dilute your brand, because I
Mhm.
think people are not going to know which one, when you show up on a phone call or at a meeting, which one is showing up. Is it the partier, the snarky one, the professional one? So I feel like, one thing I always encourage my clients to do, you don't need to be on every platform.
Right.
Allie talked about Instagram. Ashley talked about Facebook. My platform of choice is LinkedIn, because I'm more of a professional service firm and people don't look for me on Facebook or Twitter necessarily. They're looking for me. I do a lot of content marketing and thought leadership on LinkedIn. And that really is the best platform for my clients to find me. So you don't need to be everywhere, but pick one or two things you're really good at that are authentic to your brand, and you just be consistent on that platform. I think where it gets dangerous is people spread themselves too thin. And Ashley can probably talk to this. For bloggers that like set up a blog and then the first week they blog like 3 times a week. And then the second time it's once a week. And then they do it every other week and then once a month. That's a really bad strategy, because
Wow.
again, you're training your audience that you're kind of flaky and you're not going to be there consistently. I think if you're going to be a blogger, and Ashley's probably the best person to talk about this, you got to show up on a very regular schedule. They have to know they're going to hear from you on a regular basis. They know what kind of things you're going to be blogging about, and that you're building that trusted relationship. So if you're not going to be committed to blogging, don't set up your own blog. Just contribute to other people's blogs that are in your area. If they're like-minded industries, if they have a similar following, a similar simpatico audience to you, then just be a regular contributor to their blog. That way you don't have the pressure of constantly having to pander to the same audience. You can just be kind of color commentary on somebody else's blog. So I'll stop there and we can talk more about it later.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much for that. Allie, did you want to reiterate on that?
Yeah, I definitely say exactly to Paige's point of being consistent on social media is huge. And so therefore, I actually integrated all of my Instagram accounts into one. So I had one for my podcast, one for my business, one for me personally, and I integrated it all into one. However, on Facebook, I actually keep it separate. Obviously, we have our personal page, but then I have my business page, and everything I'm posting on Instagram goes to that business page because it truly is more for my business audience.
Mhm.
And I really want to be respectful for those relationships that I have on Facebook, of not posting everything about business on my personal page, knowing that my friends from middle school and high school, they're not going to necessarily care about that. And so I really save like my big announcements, my big posts to post on that personal page whenever I feel like it's appropriate. So I'm kind of in the middle because I truly do feel like for that consistency purposes, like it is best to just streamline things, keep it simple so that you can be consistent on those platforms. But on Facebook, I do like to keep it separate, just to be respectful of those relationships.
Absolutely. Okay, Ashley?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like a mix in between the middle, I guess.
Okay.
So I definitely believe in having separate business and personal accounts, meaning if you've had a personal Instagram account since 2013 and you open a business in 2020, don't take that 2013 account and suddenly start posting it, like all of your business stuff on it. Definitely have separate accounts, but I'm a firm believer in sharing more personal stories on your business account. So being able to show who you are and show the person behind the business always ends up building that credibility factor with your audience. You want people to feel like they can relate to you, like they can resonate with you, like they like you, because if people like you, then they'll hire you or buy your products if you're a product-based company. And so that's one thing that I think truly accelerated my business was I actually got really personal. When I started my company, long story, backstory is that my mom was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, which is what influenced me to start my company 6 years ago.
Okay.
And because I was so young, I was in college, I was taking care of her, running a business. I was doing all of these things. And I, of course, had to tell my clients about what was going on because there were instances where I would need to move meetings and what have you.
Okay.
And so I started just sharing that on social media. I started saying, hey, like, this is my story and this is what led me to start my business. And the amount of support and love and kindness and just like overall care and community building that came from that was amazing. And so I got a lot of messages and comments from primarily women, because women are vulnerable and they like to connect with each other. But from women who were just like, I can relate to you of just juggling so many things and going through something difficult, but having to put a happy face on every day. And so that's what I saw, was that you really just want to be human. You want to humanize your brand.
Okay.
And doing that, even though it wasn't totally related to my business, it kind of was, because the diagnosis pushed me to want to follow my dreams, because we don't have as much time as we think we do so. Even though it wasn't truly related, it was related because it's part of my story. And I really think you should find ways to share your story in social media and marketing in general, because that's what attracts the right people and that's what helps your business to grow.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I just thought that I was one of the people that was gonna be taken to the cross last week for that. But you know, everybody has their own opinions, and I just wanted to get the opinions of this platform as to, and so the audience can be able to decide, so they can be able to decide. Okay, and that's good. I appreciate everyone's opinions. So now this one is for Paige, and this question here is something that I really, I like to dive into keywords, and this is very, very key. Accidental entrepreneur. So we're going to talk about that, because, and then I said, okay, this would be something fabulous to be able to bring to the audience, because people are looking for creative things, as Allie stated. And so what is an accidental entrepreneur? That's so cool.
So that was kind of a phrase that I've used.
Mhm.
I did not intend to become an entrepreneur. If
Okay.
you had met me in college or in graduate school, I wanted to be Meg Whitman. I wanted to be a Fortune 500 CEO. I
Okay.
wanted to run a big company.
Yeah.
And I worked at Procter and Gamble and Coca-Cola. I thought one day I might be president of a company like that. My dad and both my grandfathers were in business, and they were all presidents of successful businesses. And I just thought that's the path I was going to be on too. And when I started my career, like I said, my first kind of chapter was in corporate America, climbing the ranks. My second chapter was more of a startup phase, where I was the head of marketing at 3 successful venture-backed startups, and they all had good exits. And then 20 years ago, when 9/11 hit, the economy it was such a curveball, and the market, the stock market dropped, and all the companies were scared to spend cash, and so they all fired their marketing departments. And I had just gotten bought out of my third startup, so I didn't really need to work, but I was only in my 30s and I wanted to keep working, but there really weren't any jobs. But because I had been the head of marketing at 3 successful small businesses that all had good exits and made the investors a lot of money, a lot of people that had invested in those companies, the venture capitalists, the private equity folks, they came to me and said, Paige, we need your help.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not really a consultant. I'm the client. I used to be the chief marketing officer. I don't do PowerPoint very well. That's not really what I do. They said, we don't need PowerPoint. We need somebody who can get the job done. You just did it for me and you made me a lot of money. Can you do it for these other portfolio companies? Well, after 9/11, not only did I lose my job, but a lot of really good marketing people that I had worked with before before 9/11, they had all lost their jobs too. So I had all these people who had projects that needed help. And I had all these colleagues of mine that were recently downsized, and I just put them together. I had the people in the projects. I called the women the marketing mavens. I called the guys the marketing moguls, and I named my company Mavens and Moguls. Maven is a Yiddish word for expert, or my great grandmother might have said know-it-all. And a mogul is someone, if you look in the dictionary, it's someone of rank, power, or distinction in a specified area. And I feel like I built this team of marketing rock stars. We have people in 14 cities around the country. We have people overseas. Because I had worked for these global businesses like P&G and Coke, I had a lot of colleagues that were living all over the world. And we just come together and form teams based on what clients need. But the reason I call myself an accidental entrepreneur is I wasn't planning to do this. I had no idea that 9/11 was going to change the world forever. And marketing was the first kind of discipline that really got hammered. And I never wrote a business plan, but I had these clients before I even admitted I was starting a company. All these people that I had helped before when I was working for their startups, they were like, we need help. And my husband said, Paige, there's a red flashing sign in front of you. Send them an invoice. You know what to do. So I called these people that I knew that were unemployed. And I said, I've got this work. Do you want to help me? And they said, sure. And I built a website with a college buddy of mine. She wanted to learn how to do programming. So she did the coding. I wrote the copy. And we set up a website to show that we were real. And that website lasted for about 5 years. I think about it now. I think, oh my God, I would have been paralyzed if I had realized it was going to last that long. But, we had clients before we even really admitted we were starting a company, and we've been busy ever since. And the ironic thing is, after 9/11, there was the Great Recession in 2008, 9, and 10. And then we've had, the Great Resignation and COVID the past 2.5 years. And what's ironic is, in a weird way, I feel like I have more job security now running this consulting firm because I have a portfolio of clients. I'm not dependent on any one business being successful. When you're the chief marketing officer of a company, you live and die based on that company. But I've got, dozens of clients. So if somebody's having a good year, someone else might not be having as good of a year. So there was a book by Ann Tyler years ago called The Accidental Tourist. And I just did a play on that, calling myself the accidental entrepreneur, and it kind of stuck. So I don't know if that's a long-winded answer, but basically, I had a bunch of jobs that I told you about. My longest job before this was 3.5 years. So I've now worked for myself for 20 years. And I joke, if I get sick of my boss this time, I'm going to be dead, because I don't think I could go back and work for anybody else ever again. I think I'd be a terrible employee. So it has to be successful.
Okay, great. That's great. And thank you. And so this question is for Allie. It was something that Paige touched on a little bit, and that's in regards to the pandemic, the coronavirus. So in your terms of what you have seen, how has the pandemic shaped entrepreneurs? And this is just not for people that are working online. These are for brick and mortar businesses, as well as for MFOs, marketing financial officers. The pandemic has shaped a lot of, I just saw, I think about a month ago, where this journalist had worked for like 20 or 30 years in the media. Due to the pandemic, she revamped everything. She started all over. I think her last day on the news set was, I think, the 15th of last month. And so people are finding new ways to market, advertise, get out of, I guess, the customs and the hustle and bustle of what they used to do. And they're finding new ways to advertise, market, and create a new brand. So how has you feel, in your terms, how the coronavirus has changed a lot for marketers, social media especially?
being online is no longer an option. It's a necessity.
Okay.
I've worked with a couple of brands that are brick and mortar, and they had been in business for almost 100 years. They primarily communicated with their audience through direct mail by handing out flyers when they would come into the store. So, you know, anytime they had an announcement, that was how they communicated. Now, of course, I was working with them on their social media, and so that was definitely part of their strategy, but it became the only communication option that they had to communicate with their customers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about the perspective of somebody that they think their business is only going to be closed for 2 weeks, and then that 2 weeks turns into 4 weeks, and then 6 weeks. That was a constant, ever-changing message that we had to deliver to their customers. And I had quite a few businesses reach out to me to want to start to build that during the height of the pandemic, during the very beginning piece, because they realized that that was really their only option at this point. So for me, it was definitely not a slow time, because it was all hands on deck. But I think if anything, the lesson that's come out of this is that we have to have an online platform. And if you don't, now is the time to build it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So this question is for Ashley. And so I know that you have tons of experience as being a blogger. And it may be a question for Paige too, because a lot of times when it comes to social media marketing, we have customers that are impatient. They look for a return on investment like in 2 weeks. I want my money back. You're a flick or something. You know, they turn against those that are trying to help them, but they don't understand. And so how important is it for a marketer or a advertiser to sit down and talk with the individual that they're supporting or helping, or helping them to be able to be more visible on social media? As to, you have to be patient too in order to get a good return on investment from social media campaigns.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important, especially because organic social media, one, it isn't really meant to drive sales, and two, it's really hard to track that, because people can find you through social media, but then they join your email list, or they go to your website and see the offers that you have there. And it ends up being that second, third, or fourth touch point that converts them. So even though they found you through social, it's another method that ended up converting them to become a client or customer. And so thankfully, pretty much all of the clients that I work with understand that, and they know that A, social media is a long-term game, and that B, it's really focused on building brand awareness, building a community, establishing thought leadership, and then that's when the conversions will happen down the line. I mean, even with me, I've had people who have booked consultation calls who will literally say on the call, I've been following you for 2 years, and I'm just now reaching out because now I'm finally ready. And so to Paige's point earlier, that's the importance of consistency, because you want to stay consistent and stay top of mind. So that way, even though your audience might not be ready yet to pull the trigger, once they are ready, then you will have been there time after time after time again, staying visible. And so all of my clients know that and know the importance of it. Truthfully, any client who comes to me and says, how can you help me get sales, or what do you expect the return will be in terms of money? I say, I can't guarantee you anything. And I've become very bold and not blunt, but bold and honest about it, because those people truthfully aren't my target market. If you know right off the bat that you don't really understand how I view social media, then it probably isn't quite a fit. And so I think just being able to kind of set those expectations on both ends right up front is important, but just getting people to know that social media isn't about the dollars, it's about the credibility, and it's that credibility that will bring you those dollars later on. And also too, going along with that, not putting all of your eggs in the social media basket. That is an important thing that I really try to stress to people, is that Instagram isn't the golden ticket. You need to have a website, you need to have an email list, you need to do PR like we're all doing here. You need to focus on paid ads and SEO. Just social media isn't going to get you what you want. And so you really need to build your entire marketing ecosystem like I call it, and make sure that everything intertwines together, because when they all speak to each other, then that's when you get the results.
Okay. Paige, did you want to tap on that?
I completely agree with Ashley. And I also agree that not every client is a good client. And if they believe that marketing is a necessary evil, they don't really buy into it, or they're expecting it's like a light switch, you turn it on and you get business and you can turn it off. They're not going to be a good client for us. Like, we want people that want to build long-term sustainable relationships.
Mhm.
And as Ashley alluded to, you know, the research shows it's not one touch to convert somebody. It can
Right.
take 6, 8, 10 interactions before they pull the trigger. And that can happen over a long period of time. So if people are looking for a short ROI, I steer them into PR, because I feel like if they have a really good story to tell, we can do a very targeted PR effort, very proactive,
Mhm.
and do some short-term media, online media, dailies, radio, and get them some quick hits that will immediately draw traffic to their website,
Mhm.
that we can like attribute an ROI to. And we've had very good luck with these 3-month roadmaps with PR to show them on a pretty short leash, we can get you some increased visibility, awareness, traffic. And, you know, if we can drive the horse to water, we can't force them to drink, but if they have a great value proposition and their website is sticky,
Mhm.
and they get there and then they look around and see what's interesting, if the offers are compelling, then they'll be able to convert people. And then the PR more than pays for itself. It really does become a return on investment. They give us, you know, a monthly retainer for 3 months, and we drive enough business to them that it more than pays for itself. And 9 times out of 10, when we do that, they end up signing up for a much bigger proactive program, including PR, including market research, including online marketing, maybe some search engine, maybe some, you know, pay-per-click or other things that we can help them do. But, you know, you have to get your nose under the tent, build the relationship, build the credibility, and show them some results. Sometimes we love doing branding exercises with strategy and market research, but the problem is that takes time.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to invest for a couple of months to get your strategy together, to talk to your customers, to do all the research before you show any return on that. So, you know, if they can afford it, it's a great long-term strategy. But if they require short-term results, we steer them in a different direction.
Okay, that's fair enough. So this question is for Allie. So what can the listeners and the audience do to be able to up their game with social media? You know, as far as Facebook, that is one of the favorite marketing tools that I use to, you know, announce events or something like that that I may be having. So what can the audience do to be able to beef it up?
I have 2 suggestions. My first one would be to schedule your posts. So do not make posts on the fly and just think that you will post whenever you're inspired, because it won't happen, or you won't be strategic with your posts. Whenever you can set aside time and sit down and actually schedule out, be strategic, look ahead, see what you're wanting to promote in that month time period, then that really allows you to give a full picture of what your business encompasses, rather than maybe focusing on one area and feeling like you're repeating yourself over and over again. My second suggestion would be to use the structure hook, body, call to action with every single post you make. So that hook is really the opportunity to get them to stop the scroll, allowing them to see your post, see that first line and go, oh, I need to keep reading.
Mhm.
That body really allows you to give that supporting facts, those details that really allow you to dive into the topic. And then that call to action is so important. I see this left off so many different posts. Give them some type of action to do, whether it is simply just liking the post, leaving a comment, sending you a DM, going to directly a website, whatever that may be. If they are so moved that they made it all the way to the end of your post, then they will want to take action. So we need to be able to give them that rather than just kind of ending it and just hoping that they tune back in the next time we make a post.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and that's fair enough because you want them to be able to respond, not just look at it, but look at it, review it, and respond to it as well. So
Yeah.
this is another question. I think the team last week felt that I guess since their profession was somewhat of a competition with the online software, but if you felt comfortable in answering the question, I'm going to ask this team about the question. So we have online CRMs. Okay, we have HubSpot. We have different other marketing tools that individuals use. But I always try to share with our followers that it's important to have someone there to coach you through it. The online software does not provide, online coaching. I mean, it may be free, or you may pay $19.99 a month. So here's the question, and we're going to start with Ashley. The pros and cons and the difference between the two, because I think that if once you have a live person to talk to you, to be able to hold your hand through your coaching, your business marketing, you're trying to look for results versus you're trying to do it yourself, and plus the person may not even know the keywords to add, may not even be posting the right images that is affiliated even with the topic. So how important is it to have a live coach, professional coach, such as you all, to be able to help individuals to be able to thrive their business?
I think it's important. I have the big mindset of delegation. I love to delegate whenever I come across something I hate doing or don't have the time to do, I pass it off. And so I think that's really important to understand with being a business owner, whether it's hiring a coach or even hiring someone to do something for you, that you kind of have to know that it's worth it to spend the money more than it is to spend hours and hours and hours trying to teach yourself how to do something and not getting the results that you want or not getting the end result, because that's not your zone of genius, and that's okay. And so especially with marketing, a lot of business owners think that they can do it and they keep saying, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, but it becomes the very last thing on their to-do list and it never gets done. So just like Ali said, if you're not dedicating the time to making it happen, there's going to be 6 months that go by and there's like tumbleweed rolling across your social media profiles. And so I think that's what it really comes down to, is knowing what to say yes to and what to pass off. And if it's something that someone else can easily do for you, I say go for it. And by all means, bring someone in to take over the reins. So that way you have the time to focus on business development, growth, and sales, because you need to identify the importance of working on your business compared to working in it. And if you're constantly working in it, then you're not going to be able to do things like grow your business and like take things to the next level or where you want it to be, while an outside source or an outside expert can really step in and help to take over a leg of something so that you can focus on what's best for you.
And the question per se was not rhetorical to the other professionals. It's just they said that the Hootsuite and HubSpot and all of them were like competition against what they were doing, and so that's the reason why they felt kind of uncomfortable of answering the question. So did you want to elaborate on that, Paige?
Well, I guess I would say we're kind of agnostic when it comes to the tools. There are a lot of different tools that people use, and our clients use, every client has their own tools. So I'm not a big proponent of any one tool. We work with all of them, but I would just caution people out there to realize the tools are only as good as the relationships behind the tools. So if you don't have a good relationship with your customers and your clients, you have to build that trusted brand. Again, this comes back to building a solid relationship, having a strong brand foundation, knowing like what your benefits are, what your brand values are, what the brand reputation is, what your perception is, where you're strong, where you're weak. And if you get all that right, you can make any of the tools work for you.
Okay.
But without having a strong relationship directly with your customer and your client, none of the tools are going to solve the problem for you. There are no silver bullet tools out there. So I would just tell people, be really clear about who you are, what you stand for, what your benefits are, what your features are. Don't confuse your features and benefits.
Right.
Pick one or two key messages, reinforce it in everything that you do. And if you can't do it, if you're overwhelmed, if you're not going to be consistent and methodical about it, then by all means, find a professional to outsource and be a partner to you. Look for Allie, Ashley, people like me that can support you. And, you know, I always say to people, you know, if you're the only person waking up every day thinking about your business, it's kind of like the tree falling in the forest. And does anybody notice or care? If you've got other people that wake up every day thinking about you and ways that they can help you get your story out there, finding the right words and pictures, figuring out which platform, what the message is, scheduling the messages in a strategic way, just like Allie was saying. If you need that support, there are a lot of good people out there like us that can help you. Don't get overwhelmed. And by all means, I talked about this before, don't spread yourself so thin that you end up diluting your brand. Because if you don't do it right and you don't do it well, it's going to come back and hurt you. So, you know, don't obsess about, you know, if you like HubSpot or you like Hootsuite or whatever, that's great. You know, professionals can work with any of them, but you've got to have a great foundation and great relationships behind whatever tools that you use.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why I don't particularly bring people onto the show that has a background in another field or what have you and things. I try to bring the experts on the show that has the meat and potatoes, such as you all. You can't always, you know, HubSpot or someone else, and they are good platforms, but you need someone there to help you, to coach you along the way with social media. Look, I may did this the wrong way. And some, like I stated, some people try to do it alone by themselves. And then it don't always work out right because you're going to forget. I think that's what Ashley had mentioned. You're going to forget 6 months. Then next thing you know is 3 months. Oh, I'm behind. Oh, I got to go back and I got to add this. No. When you have a brick and mortar or someone that is a little bit more solid and foundational, this will be able to help the business to be able to be more and more effective because you'll have someone else to stand and back you up. And so that's very, very important. So now the next question, or did you, I'm sorry, Allie, did you want to comment on that? Did you want to elaborate on that question?
The only thing I'll say is having a business coach has been the best investment I've ever made in my business. Being a business owner can be incredibly lonely. So anytime you can add somebody to that team to where you aren't just bouncing ideas off the wall by yourself, it can really elevate your ability to be creative and think outside of the box.
Right, absolutely. So this question is going to go back to Allie, okay, and this is in regards to you know, social media influence. You know, we were talking about on the previous question about beefing it up a little bit, and so some individuals to be able to grow a little bit or enhance their business a little bit, they use celebrities. They use other types of influencers. And so that's the question that I'm going to go around the panel. Also, the importance of that. It's a lot of funds, you know, and but I guess I would like to ask the importance and also not just the importance of it. If when we use influencers, take for instance Lori Loughlin's daughter. I'm talking about, she's going out the roof. I'm serious, and I like it. I really do. I like it. I'm like, okay, she doesn't care. She doesn't care what people say about, I didn't have no college education. It doesn't matter. But this lady is getting the advertising and all the marketing that she needs, and I do. I love it. I really do. So how is important for those that want to beef it up a little bit? What are some of the tips that they can be able to use before they go out and hire someone to be able to market them in an influential type of way? And that goes for everyone. We're going to go around the table and we're going to ask everyone that question.
So using influencers in your marketing strategy is incredibly powerful.
Okay.
I am going to give maybe a little bit of a controversial opinion, though.
Okay, come on.
I have a better experience working with smaller influencers, actually.
Okay.
They have a much more engaged audience.
Okay.
When you think about celebrities or those that have really large followings, it can be hard to really pin down that engagement rate or that return on investment that you're making with them. And oftentimes they can charge that high price tag because they have a large number of followings. But what is that really going to convert for you? So I've actually worked on influencer campaigns, even like locally within Kentucky, and the state of Kentucky has worked with influencers, and these are individuals that I end up seeing at events. I know them more personally than I do a celebrity from maybe another state. And so I think you can get really strategic about those influencers that you're using and really thinking more on that micro influencer level. So under 10,000 followers even, they can really still be a powerful tool for you, and they won't break the bank as much as some of those celebrity influencers would.
Absolutely. You're free to, you're free to put those scales out there, and we'll eat and whatever that you serve up. I mean, it's your expertise, it's your opinion. I was sharing with the team last week of, I think, what I thought it was ridiculous. It was just my opinion. Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think, shoveled out several millions of dollars for Miss Tennessee but it was for a good cause though at the same time too. But that's kind of what you just stated, Allie, kind of opened my thinking a little bit. Now sometimes your brand can get shuffled can get shuffled up and in the middle when you hire these big and I'm pretty sure her cause was great, but my thing, we were sitting in a luncheon, a public PR luncheon, and I'm like, that's a lot of money, and I shouldn't have said that. That was just my opinion. And I'm like, okay, Miss Tennessee, you're gonna have to put those heels on and that crown. You're gonna take that crown off to be able to earn that $1 million that these people just shoveled out to you. Blue Cross Blue Shield, they shoveled out like over $1 million to her for campaigning, social media marketing. So that was one of the that was one of the questions that one of the members had asked. What do you? Oh, well, we do social media posting. I'm like, you're gonna have to take that crown off and do a little bit more than that. But anyway, just like I said, that's my opinion. It may just be a little harsh, but I kind of agree with Allie a little bit. And sometimes when we go out there and we launch out into the deep and we're looking for a big return back, and we go in there and we get all of these big high professionals and what have you, sometimes our business still can get shuffled up in the middle. But I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let the experts talk. So go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, so I agree with Allie. I truthfully think followers are a vanity metric. If you have 100,000 followers and no one is buying anything from you or doing anything, it really doesn't matter. So it's really important to, like Allie said, look at the engagement rate and the conversions that are coming from it. I also think that as a brand or business, before you go and hire an influencer to do some marketing for you, you need to make sure that your own brand and marketing is solid. I had a referral come to me where this company was like just starting out and they didn't have a website yet, and they just started their Instagram, and they were like, we need influencers to help us. And I was like, you have nowhere to drive these people to that the influencers will bring to your account. So it's really important to make sure that your foundation is solid and that you have not just a website, but a good website that will convert that traffic that's coming. And you need to have everything set up properly, because if you're going to be spending all of this money on influencers who are doing their job of driving awareness and people and interest to your profiles, but you don't have it set up on your end, it's not their fault, it's yours. And so if you're going to be able to or want to shell out that money, you have to make sure that you have everything set up properly in order to receive that and make sure that you actually get the results that you want.
Absolutely. Paige?
I agree with both of y'all. I mean, we've had a lot more luck with micro influencers and nano influencers. My clients are not in a position where they can afford Kim Kardashian or Kylie Jenner to send out tweets on their behalf. So, I think less is more when it comes to influencers. Influencers can be very powerful,
Right.
but I think the more targeted and the more loyal their followers are, the better off your brand's going to be, because they can actually, elicit engagement and conversation. So I don't get roped into you need the person with the biggest audience. I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
I think sometimes the smallest audience that's really engaged and excited and interested in your particular niche, I think that can be a great business model. And you just have to make sure that the influencers you're working with really sync up with your values, that they're very consistent with what your brand stands for, because if they're perceived as just a hired gun, it's not going to do anything. It's got to be people that really live that brand. They really use the product or service. They really, they're wearing that brand, or they're drinking that product, or they're eating that food. And if people saw them in the real world, it would be very consistent. If somebody, is tweeting for McDonald's, but they're super healthy, that just wouldn't work out very well. That's not going to be very credible. So I think you really should focus on getting the right influencers with the right message and the right consistent values more than the biggest audience.
Okay, great. So look, ladies, our time is up. Okay, and so, but we do not want to end the summit without you sharing with the audience how they can be able to get in contact with you, or how they can be able to follow you. If you have any published books that you have written where they can be able to find them, or any upcoming master classes that you are sponsoring, or your website links, you can be able to do that at this time. And we're going to start with Allie, and we'll go around the table.
You can find me on my website, iwantfamefortune.com. On there, I have a social media planning pad. It's actually a physical desk pad that would allow you to be strategic with your social media. So if that's something that you are interested in, I will be giving those away for free. So you can grab that at iwantfamefortune.com.
Okay. Ashley?
My website is dashofsocial.com, and you can find me at Dash of Social on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And on my website, you can find a freebie that is a guide on how to build your content marketing bank, and sharing how you can use all forms of content marketing to establish thought leadership with your audience.
Okay, Paige?
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a great discussion. I've really enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about me, go to the website. It's mavensandmoguls.com, spelled out MAVENSANDMOGULS.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. If you Google me, I have a hyphenated last name. So it's really going to be me that shows up. It's not like, Susan Smith or John Doe or something. But on LinkedIn, it's Paige Arnof-Fenn. There's no hyphen on LinkedIn, but if you think it's me, it's really going to be me.
Okay, great. So ladies, we thank you so much for giving your expertise to the audience on today for the second half of this summit. Sorry it has to end so early. I still had tons of questions, but this is not the end. Of course, we'll be coming back later on in the year with another piece of the cake or the apple. So for the listeners, of course, we have another broadcast that's coming up at 12 o'clock. We're going to have Sylvia Villa, and she's the CEO of the founder of this gourmet coffee in Guatemala. And so she's going to be our guest at 12 o'clock. But until then, we thank everyone for being on the show on today. And we thank the ladies for giving their expertise and taking their time out with us on today. So thank everyone, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Diane. Really fun.
Thank you.